Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Do you hate getting stuck in rush hour traffic?
Do you find yourself dozing off trying to get home?
Do you start daydreaming about the paranormal and forget you're sitting behind the wheel?
If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Tune into the Paranormal Peeps podcast.
We are ready to entertain you.
On his way, devil is on his way, devil is on his way, motherfucker, the devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees, devil is on his way, fall to your knees, devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees, devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot. Again.
Hey,
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
and I'm the human soundboard, Dylan.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Pretty good.
What's going on, Heather? It's a holiday.
It is?
Yeah, people get Monday off.
Well, it's Memorial Day.
It is, and
I don't know if it's really a time for, like, celebration.
I'm not celebrating. My heart goes out to anyone who's had a loved one or been in the services and perished and gave it all, sacrificed everything for this nation. There's no other way to look at it. So,
Thank you for that.
Okay.
You give a very uplifting speech.
Well, thank you, because, you know, I've been downtrodden before, and then someone picked me up. So, you know.
Okay.
All right.
Lifted you up out the gutter, huh?
How'd you know I've been down the gutter before?
You know, Dylan, I know what you were really excited about today, and that was showing people your meats.
That's not true. Some people did see my meats, but that's not. Come on. I mean, this day is about more than Dylan's meats.
Is it?
Well, I mean, for most people.
No, it's about Dylan's meats for me.
I did make some ribs. I've been working them since I got up at 7:30 this morning, and they turned out pretty nice, I must say.
They were great, Dylan.
Thanks.
We must hype up our merch store, Dylan.
Oh my gosh, Heather's she's tried a few things over the years, that didn't like the website or didn't like the interactions or the price points, because sometimes the stores make their own.
Customer service is some crap.
She has found the place, Heather. Tell them all about it.
We will drop a link in today's show notes where you can view our lovely new merch. We have some very cute designs, Dylan. We have hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, mugs,
Tumblers,
wine glasses,
pint glasses,
stickers,
I want a pint
magnets.
glass. What?
There's even Dylan.
Is there Mountain Murders toilet paper?
Tell them about your sitting and looking design.
Heather, these are all Heather-driven designs, and she has blown me away. We have the sitting and looking.
Well, you don't have to tell them about the part where I blew you away.
Oh, baby. Hey, she's like a westerly wind up this bitch. Yeah. Santa Ana wind. Everything's on fire, including my groins. Heather has developed these very up-to-date, what all words can I use for these designs? Creative, spot on.
Fun. They're fun.
They're fun.
You know, so we've got Dylan's sitting and looking design. You're going to love it. It's a little possum in a rocking chair.
Yes.
We even have it on a pint glass, so you can do Dylan's favorite things: sitting, looking, drinking.
Yeah. I drink water now mostly. Now and again, I get cut loose. She lets me have one beer, and I enjoy it, I must say.
You savor it.
So I've got to get me a pint glass for that.
Yeah.
Occasion.
There's my Stay Trashy design.
Yes.
You got to stay trashy up in this bitch. It's got a raccoon and a pile of trash. You're going to love it.
Oh, they're wonderful, Heather.
So many fun designs.
And
of course, our new Mountain Murders logo. You can get that slapped on a t-shirt, a hoodie, a tank.
Anything,
a
apparently.
mug.
You can have it put on your dog.
I'll stick it directly on your butt cheek if you want me to.
Oh, and one of my favorite parts about this is no lie. This is not me hyping or, trying to, get a few bucks our way, are the price points. Heather has went out of her way to keep the price points reasonable.
Well, I was going to say, bro, Dylan,
on the merch.
I'm not going to get rich off this merch, okay? I'm
No.
trying to keep it cost effective for our listeners.
Make a couple of bones here and there, but the main point is Heather has lots of fun with the designs and the fact that anyone would ever want to even buy something with Mountain Murders on it and represent for us or show their love blows us away. And yes, she's kept the price points down. That is purely driven by the creator. And and I love it. And there's a few things I'm going to get.
Well, again, you can find it in the show notes today. If you follow us on social media, you can click on our bio. There's a link tree on both X and Instagram that's going to direct you to the merch store. So make sure you check that out. Some fun designs. I'm excited, and hopefully our listeners will like what we've done.
Yeah, and we're going to do like some of your most favorite attractions and museums. At the end of today's episode, you will have to exit through the gift store.
Yes. Yes, Dylan.
Hey, man, I've been set up by that so many times with my kids. I'll be like, hey, come. We want the parents to have this great field trip with the kids. And then you empty out of the maze.
Always.
And through into the gift store, the gift shop with the $50,000 stuffed animals and stuff. And your kid's like, oh, you don't give me one. And then you got all the other parents trying to show out, buying our kids a bunch of stuff. And then your kids looking at you like you don't love them anymore.
Because you don't want to buy them a $30 pencil.
Because they don't even have keys, but they want a fucking keychain from the museum. You know what I'm saying? What do you got keys to, you little shit?
To the sticky store, Dylan.
Get your little sticky ass on.
I know. My son recently went on a school trip and was gone for about a week. Went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Got to do some cool stuff. And then, of course, he's got his little spending money. And when I'm asking him, what'd you get? It's stuff at the gift shop.
He loves the
Went
gift
through
shop.
the aquarium. Had to get something from the gift shop.
And I got to say, I like things in the gift shop too. I would just like to have the option of not going through the gift shop sometimes.
Okay.
Because sometimes parents are barely making it.
That's a valid point, Dylan.
Sometimes parents, it's just one of these, one more example of classism that rears its ugly head in our society constantly, if you take notice.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What?
My God.
I don't need a political lecture,
It's not political.
economic lecture. Dylan, let's get into today's case. This is a very strange story.
Okay, I'm completely in the dark as usual. No, sometimes I do know. We discuss. Heather tells me what's going on.
You know this. I've told you about this case. See, this is the thing, Dylan.
I don't know. Did
I update you
you? Did you?
every week.
I don't think so.
Almost every week, I tell you I'm working on the case.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the gist. I give you a rundown. And like within an hour, you've already forgotten what
I
we're
don't
doing.
think you told me about this one, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I told you about it.
I have a very poor memory. I think people are well aware of this.
Yes.
What are we talking about? Ha. Let's get into it. Refresh my memory, Heather.
Laura Jane Russell was born May 3rd, 1961 in El Paso, Texas. Her father, Patrick, was a wealthy, successful businessman who had made much money in oil and as a contractor and would later own a trucking company.
Oh, wow. Sounds very successful.
Lots of money in trucking.
Yeah, you just need to get into business, son. Be a businessman.
Laura's parents divorced when she was young, and she was raised by her mother, Venita Shaw, who struggled to make ends meet. Patrick remarried, living in a mansion while his wife and stepchildren, with his wife and stepchildren, while his daughter lived less than a mile away. So here Laura is living with her mom. They're struggling just to make ends meet, cover the basics, while her dad is wealthy, living it up in a mansion only about a mile down the road with his wife and the new stepkids.
So they get to drive by that place in their car that's smoking or needs some repairs and look at these people living it up while they're barely making it.
Laura felt resentful, like her father was more interested in his new family. That can be very hurtful for kids.
Well, honestly, sometimes you'd be like, well, maybe you're reading too much into it or whatever, but how could you not be resentful in that situation, especially as a child, right? From a child's perspective.
Otherwise, she was described as a happy kid who was always smiling. She was well-liked, made good grades, and participated in extracurricular activities like speech and drama club. She also ran cross country. A classmate would say, quote, Laura had it all, brains and beauty. Laura lived with her father during her last 2 years of high school. She had become a bit of a wild child and was partying and just doing too much, Dylan.
I waited until my late 30s to become a wild child.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Pat, I think you've just always been one. Patrick disapproved of Laura's behavior. Once she showed up to school with a bruise on her face, and Laura told friends Patrick had given her the bruise. So she had gotten this bruise from her father. Her dad was known to strike her with a belt at times, but he denied this. He says he was just disciplining her.
Yeah. Well, see, that's one of those things. I'm disciplining my child. That is such a varied spectrum between, a case-by-case situation. It can be so different, from people to people.
Carol Russell, Laura's stepmother, said that Patrick was a hard man who could be domineering. And maybe that will explain what happens with Laura later. Now, Laura attended the University of Texas for 2 semesters, then moved to Santa Monica, California with a friend named Kent. She enrolled at Santa Monica College while working various jobs, just kind of like odd jobs, retail, serving, that kind of thing. Finally, Laura moved to Boston in order to finish school. She was quickly hired at John Hancock Mutual Life Insurance Company. She was promoted to the assistant portfolio manager of the financial services division pretty shortly after getting hired on. That's where she met Richard Rosenthal, a rising star at John Hancock. Richard was a senior executive described as brilliant and hardworking. Richard was from Newark, New Jersey, and he grew up there with a blue-collar family. So a little different from Laura's background.
He can make a great porn name from that. Richard Rosenthal, you know what I would call him? Dick Rose. Yeah.
Okay, Dylan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A smart kid, Richard was into computers and playing chess. He earned a bachelor's degree at Wharton Business School in Pennsylvania and then a master's at Temple University.
Wow.
He was hired at John Hancock in 1985. Richard has been called a loner who had no sense of humor and was quiet by others.
Now, Wharton's in what would you say, top 3 elite business school? Yale, Wharton. I don't know what the other one would be, but it's very prestigious, right?
It's a pretty good business school.
Okay.
That's a pretty good one.
And you have to go there if you want to be a businessman,
You think so?
I guess. I don't even know. I'm really starting to think that business is just like an umbrella for anything you want it to be. And I almost think it's almost like a fake term. You know what I'm saying? And I know about.
Well, you could be a businessman. You could own a car wash.
Yeah.
You could sell marijuana.
That's true.
Out the back of your Chrysler.
That's at the car wash.
And you could be a businessman.
So, and wash your money at the same time.
You could be a real estate tycoon.
Okay.
You could be running for president and tout your business acumen.
That's
right?
true.
I mean, there's a variety. You could sell your ass.
That's a business.
And you're in business.
Yeah, okay.
You could be a small business owner.
You know what? I take care of business all the time. I'm taking care of TCB or TC business, right? But I've never been officially labeled as a businessman. I've owned my own business.
Then you were a businessman.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Ex-girlfriends said Richard would withdraw instead of discussing his feelings. This seems like typical behavior of someone who's described as a loner, right? They're kind of solitary. They're not real big on discussing their feelings, their emotions.
And it's hard to even know where they're coming from because they keep to themselves and they don't really share those types of things.
Richard was serious. I would hate to be described as having no sense of humor.
Me too, but honestly, I wish I could be more serious sometimes. Sometimes you need to be serious. And even when in the thick of it, when everything's on fire, I'm just like,
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I'm like, I'm sorry, Dylan. This is a funeral.
Well, I'll be like, hey, but I'm remembering the good times.
Sorry, sir. You're inside a Wendy's. Calm down. Yet Laura was instantly attracted to Richard with his dark hair and handsome looks. He has a very 80s guy look.
So you're saying he's 80s hot?
I could see during that time period, during that specific decade,
Okay.
that Richard Rosenthal could maybe meet the standard for hot.
Did he have the chest hair loaf coming out of the top of the shirt?
I don't know. I've only seen photos of him in a suit.
Did he have really thick mustache?
He has a mustache.
Okay.
And he's got like a thick, kind of wave of hair.
Wow. That sounds very 80s.
Yeah, like he might blow dry it.
And he's wearing like a denim suit.
He might blow dry it back.
Yeah, of course.
Like the kind of the feathered, blow dried 80s guy hair.
I want to know why guys are afraid to use blow dryers nowadays, because used to that was a big part of male hair.
I want to know why
treatments.
men aren't getting more perms.
This gal right here wants to see everybody.
You wanted to call me a bitch.
No.
You were about to say this bitch.
No, I'm trying to retire that word here on the podcast.
Oh, okay. I could tell I could see it in your
Hey.
eyes. It was twinkling.
Hey, look, bitch. Let me. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. No, I wasn't even thinking about. I wasn't even thinking you were a bitch. I mean, seriously, get out of my head. What are you, Professor X?
A wizard?
Jesus. No, but why are we afraid to feather and have like fluffy hair now? It used to be the thing, and I used to work with some cats. They never let it go. From like the VO5 and the fluffy hair day back in the day. You know, it's like that windblown lake look, like they're in the boat going fast. Their hair was wet when they started, and now it's dry, but it was blown straight back and it's all fluffy.
My dad wears his hair like that.
Well, yeah, he does. But I really think we need to bring it back. It's almost like a mullet, but not really, because it's way too soft and fluffy to be a mullet. Yeah, I think we need to get back to the VO5 days.
You need a perm.
There's not a...
I have been trying desperately to coerce you into getting a perm.
I don't have enough hair to perm, for one.
Well, that's why you grow it out.
You've spent the entire week pointing out that my bald spot's getting bigger.
Well, I'm sorry. It blinds me.
And at this point, you know what? I don't even care, because I'll be like, I'll just shave my head.
It looks like somebody slapped a silver dollar pancake in the back of your head, bud.
Well, that's not bad. That's pretty small. But now she's made me care, and I think I'm going to get something to try to grow it back.
Like the other day, we were at the gym, and I was trying to spot you. And
You used my bald spot to spot me?
No. Let me finish the story. You were using a bench, which you're like obsessed with the rack and the bench.
Yeah.
Like it's your rack or what. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm just touching steel, bud.
Okay. Well, you're over there, and I'm scanning, looking for you. And I was like, is that Dylan? I think he was wearing a blue shirt. And then I'm like, no, that guy's got a big bald spot.
But it was me.
But it was you.
Okay, thanks. See, here we are again, folks.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you should follicle shame me, honestly. It's not okay.
I'm not Have I said one negative thing? How do you know I don't like a big bald head? Maybe I want to lick some cake icing off your fucking bald head, okay, bud? Maybe I like a
Ooh.
big old knobby head.
Will you make sure it's cream cheese so I can absorb it through osmosis into my body?
Perhaps.
Because I love that icing.
Yeah, I'll make you some homemade.
Slather it all over my bald
Look,
spot.
okay?
I got some more bald
You got a big old
spots.
silver dollar pancake bald spot. We're going to pull some, she can't even talk. We're going to pour some syrup on it. I'm going to butter that shit up. It'll be fine, Dylan.
You gonna say silver dollar bald spot pancake head?
I
Look,
thought you were comfortable with your body. Why do you care what I think about your bald spot?
I am, but I think this is how you give people complexes.
Well, you've been making fun of my double chin all week.
You're a damn lie. I ain't said one word about
You were like, well, I mean, yeah, it's not like a big old turkey neck, but I mean, you're basically telling me I got a big fucking double chin, so I don't even want to hear it, bud.
Look, I never said that.
That's totally
I
what you
never
said.
said that, and I've never used your double chin that you don't have, because that's your perspective, to spot you in a fucking crowded gym. But you just in public said that you spotted me.
We're not in public right now. This is a private conversation between us and our listeners
All over the world.
all over the world.
Okay.
Look, you're among friends. It's
Let's
fine.
get back to it.
All right.
I need somebody to massage my spot. If you want to massage Dylan's bald spot, hit us up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Back to what I was saying before you started making fun of my double chin is that Richard had that very 80s look.
Okay.
And I will post some photos of Richard to accompany this case. We'll post them on the Insta. Now, the pair entered into a whirlwind relationship. What do you think when you hear the word whirlwind relationship? Like someone just comes in and like sweeps you off your feet kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, I would think personally, I've never actually given it much thought, but I would think it's kind of you're going places, you're doing new things, maybe new experiences. Maybe one of you has a little bit extra money.
I whirlwinded you, didn't I?
And you whirlpooled me, baby. Yeah, a spin cycle.
I
And-
whirlwinded you so hard it blew off a big old chunk of hair off the back of your head.
You wasn't supposed to blow my hair off the back of my head.
I knocked your socks off and knocked off a big old piece of that bald head.
I shouldn't have to put in an insurance claim after this relationship. What the hell?
Well, early on, Richard took Laura to Paris for Valentine's Day.
Now this is fitting what I was thinking.
Yes. By 1990, the couple became engaged. That same year, Richard was rejected by Suffolk Law School. However, there were already some cracks in the relationship. For example, a coworker said that Richard was furious when Laura placed an engagement announcement in the newspaper because she had used his full name, and Richard did not like his middle name.
What's his middle name?
I don't know, Dylan.
Really?
I'm sorry I didn't take the time to look it up.
Wow, he don't like it so much. They kept it out of all the stories and reports of this case.
And that seems a little excessive that you would be upset. One, you're engaged, so it's just expected typically if you're doing kind of the like formal engagement that you would have the announcement.
Right. And most people use their full name, you know.
And yeah, most people aren't going to have such a strong reaction to having their name printed in the paper.
It's like your mama's mad at you, hollering out the door or window, using your full name. You know you're in trouble now.
Well, coworkers thought the marriage would be a good thing for Richard. He and Laura were very different. She was outgoing and sweet, so they thought her influence might chill Richard out a bit. Because he's kind of uptight, Dylan.
Yeah.
Super serious.
Well, yeah, the dude flips out because they used his middle name in a marriage announcement.
Well, I think that just goes to show, as our story progresses, that Richard has a bit of a short fuse. And maybe some control issues.
Okay, well, that's not a good combination.
Yet others were baffled by the relationship, which was ill-suited. A few of Laura's friends thought she was, like, too good for Richard. And I don't know if that's just because she had a different personality, or they thought she was, incredibly pretty, or they just didn't go well together. You know those couples that you're kind of like, how's that work?
Yeah.
During the summer of 1990, a coworker had noticed that Laura had a blackened left eye and a bruised cheek. When asked about the injury, Richard explained that Laura had walked into a door.
God, those damn doors and cabinet corners have beat up more women than anyone will ever know.
Do we really believe this? She walked into a door?
No, I don't know.
Why do they always use these lame excuses?
I don't know, but I've never known anyone injured by a cabinet or a door in the way that they always say, oh, it got me right in the eye. I'll be like, well, damn, did it punch you? Because, that's the only way you get a black eye like that. And you feel terrible for someone who's obviously lying about how they got injured.
Well, I don't know.
honestly.
I've had a couple weird injuries that I know people probably didn't believe.
Yeah, didn't you say you were pregnant one time and you ended up with a black eye?
Yeah, one time, because I've been pregnant so many times. Yes, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I went to throw the trash out into a big dumpster outside my office.
Okay.
And a yellow jacket flew out of the trash can and stung me right in the eye, in the corner of my eye. And then my eye is all swelled up. And it looked like I had been punched.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I had a lady in the grocery store who was like, honey, you don't have to stay with him. And I'm like, it's a bee sting. And,
She's like, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
She was like, it was a bee sting. Opened the cabinet and I hit it on the corner.
I've been elbowed in the face multiple times when I played roller derby and have had a bloody nose from that, a busted up lip, black eye. It's super common injury in derby. And people just don't want to believe that it was a derby injury.
There's help available, honey.
Yes. Yes, it happens. Been smacked in the face with a basketball before.
Oh.
Black eye from that.
Yeah. Any other ball injuries to your face there?
No, we don't talk about my sex injuries here.
Oh. I tell you what, a dodgeball can leave you reeling. You take a good shot. And obviously a baseball. Obviously. Or softball. Let's be honest. They're bigger, more dangerous.
Well, now Richard is trying to explain this away. Oh, she walked into a door. But Laura confided in a friend that Richard had actually given her the black eye.
Which is pretty cowardly.
Yet Laura committed to the relationship despite whatever was happening between the two of them. Whether it was, I mean, it's domestic violence, but
Right. But
she's still all in. She's going to marry him.
so she's not wavering one bit as far as whether or not she should pay attention to these very significant red flags.
Right. And then, Dylan, it makes me think of her childhood with her stepmother saying that her father had been very domineering.
Right.
Because I'm like, how does someone as smart and beautiful and worldly as Laura Jane end up in this situation, right?
Well, and that's one of the
I mean, it happens to the best of them.
Well, and that's one of the biggest reasons to get out of a situation like that. It's not just for you. If you do have children, little ones, this normalizes chaos. It normalizes physical or emotional abuse for them. And when you're a kid growing up in an environment like that, you just think that's how the world is. You think this is normal, which is it's pretty sad.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, seeing that Laura perhaps went from a controlling household from her childhood, her father was kind of domineering and
controlling,
maybe even physical with her from time to time, that she could find herself in a relationship with a man who's also controlling and gets physical with her from time to time.
And that would not be completely foreign to her, and it wouldn't seem as abnormal.
The couple traveled to El Paso, Texas for an engagement party. Things were not as they appeared, though, Dylan. During the trip, Laura phoned her friend Kent, and he had been her roommate in Santa Monica, California. And I guess she and Kent were pretty close. She phoned him asking if he would swing by her father's house. And when he arrived, Laura confided that Richard had assaulted her.
Oh, my gosh.
They fought because Richard was, quote, tired of going to engagement parties.
Damn, Richard said he's sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Laura alleged that Richard had pulled her hair, punched her in the ribs, pushed her down, and had grabbed Laura by the neck so forcefully he had left a mark.
Well, look, there's no good reason for that.
No.
But, I mean, how many engagement parties have they had to go to? I mean, why is Richard losing it over the engagement parties? What it boils down to is something he doesn't want to do.
He's a butthole.
And he
doesn't want to have to go to a party and be nice and
try
be
to
social
act normal
because he's a quiet, serious loner who doesn't want to have to deal with people.
And so attacking your woman physically is the way you
remedy that,
communicate that to her.
Makes total sense.
It makes total sense.
This guy's a dickwad.
Well, look, he's cowardly, he's selfish, and these are all things you have to be to act like this.
Laura and Richard were married at a hotel in El Paso in September of 1991. After the marriage, friends thought Richard was alienating Laura.
Did you say he was a dickwad?
Yeah.
That's such a great insult.
Yeah, it is. You're welcome. So Richard is alienating Laura.
Okay.
Which, again, is not uncommon in these situations where domestic violence is prevalent.
Not at all.
The friends noticed changes in the newlywed. Laura began dressing more modestly. She cut her hair shorter. She stopped getting her nails done and retreated from her outgoing personality. So she's kind of like changing her whole appearance, which I'm not saying that is a product of domestic violence, but it has been known to happen. I mean, a lot of women, as they get older, they get married, they settle down. Maybe they, want to look more mature, will cut their hair, maybe change the way she's dressing. If they're saying she's dressing more modestly or conservative, well, she's not maybe out at the club or whatever, so she doesn't feel the need to wear those clothes anymore. I don't know.
Well, so, being cute is hard. It's hard work. And maybe she just sold out like Metallica. I would go around and tell me, like, sell out. You're a sellout. And she'd be like, I sold out what? What are you talking about? I just got a haircut. I'd be like, sell out. What do you think?
That makes so much sense.
Well, yeah. Like, because she cut her hair like the rocker guys. They always get called sellouts. You get it. If I had to explain, it's not funny.
I know. It wasn't at all. So, okay.
Cool. It was a stretch. Let's move on.
Cool joke, bro. I thought you meant she sold out because she got married. I'm like, yeah, it's a real fucking ball and chain, isn't it? I understand that.
Marriage is much like life. It's what you make it. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and read that greeting card? I'm going to sign that shit, too.
I'm married to you. I know what it's like, bud.
Yeah, look in the back aisle for me.
It's basically like just raising another child, but he's in his middle age and he's still like a child to go like around behind you cleaning up and doing things for you.
We agreed right quick. We agreed the other day. You about got me fixed. I am a 6-year project car, and Heather is getting the final coat of paint and the shiny lacquer or whatever you do to make paint shine. And she's getting the interior finished up now.
I have worked on you. You're quite trainable. I texted your mom the other day and I was like, thank you, because he's trainable. It took some time.
Yeah.
But he's almost there.
Yeah.
The only thing I can't fix is your brain, Dylan.
Well, hey, you know.
I'm not Frankenstein. I'm not Dr. Frankenstein.
It's the way I'm drawn. I can't help it.
Well, a landlord who rented to the Rosenthals early in their marriage said the dynamic between the couple was tense. Richard was serious and more aggressive, while Laura was nice and kind of easy to deal with. Like, even the landlord noticed that any kind of interaction with the couple, they, had these very different personalities, very distinct.
Yeah, and the landlord has most of the time
minimal contact.
Minimal contacts, and even he notices this. So it must be very obvious.
But people called Laura a good wife. They said she doted on her husband, Richard, just, praised him and was kind of always taking care of him, doing for him. A salon owner named Tina Cristaldi, who cut the couple's hair, said Laura's demeanor was quite different when she was alone. When Laura would come in unaccompanied, she was friendly, charming, chatty. But when Laura came to the salon with Richard, she wouldn't carry on conversation and was very quiet.
And that's really sad. There's one person in this world you should be yourself around, be able to be yourself around, be comfortable, and that's your partner.
Sometimes I think you're a little too comfortable around me.
No, I have other things to show you. I'm like Pinhead. I have so many things to show you, Heather.
Dylan,
yeah,
I'm just going to... There's not a lot of you that you haven't shown me.
Taste.
Trust me.
The Dylan, baby. Taste it. Yes. I get some Visine in there.
Some Visine?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
I'll be farting in your face when you sleep. Okay?
You're disgusting.
That's what happens. That's why you keep getting conjunctivitis. It ain't the cats, honey. It's
I don't
me.
even have a cat.
I know. That's why you were so confused.
And I haven't had pink eye in some years.
It's poop eye.
Well, I got it in boot camp. And that was that was the one and only time I've ever had it, and it was fucking miserable.
Hey, pink eye sucks.
Because people are gross and don't wash their fucking hands.
Oh, my God.
So if you're out there and you're not washing your hands, you're gross.
Hey, look, Dookie Fingers, if you served with my wife in the Navy, you need to wash your hands.
Wash your little shitty hands,
oh
okay?
God.
Quit digging in your crack and wash your hands.
Ew.
Go wash your fucking hands.
Go wash your hands and stop digging in your crack. That is sage advice for Mountain Murders.
The couple purchased a beautiful modern home in Framingham, Massachusetts in 1993 for $330,000. So, Dylan, I'm thinking about 90s prices, and $330,000 in 1993, that's a lot of house.
That's a lot of house. Nowadays, that is a 800 square foot house, depending on where you live. But 330 back then, because people were still getting houses for under 100.
Dude, you could get a house for like 60,
70, 80. If you spent $250, it was a big
mansion,
house.
Right?
So this is a very large, nice house. I have no doubt.
Richard was earning $96,000 annually plus bonuses through John Hancock. The Rosenthals, according to neighbors, seemed to be the perfect suburban couple. They were young, successful, and obviously, balling. Got this big old $330,000 house.
You can't hide money. That's what they say.
But behind closed doors, as we know, Dylan, things are not always as they appear. Because people think you're normal. They just don't know what it's like to live with you, do they?
They must not. That's the people in the public, not the people that listen to the podcast. They know the real me.
In February of 1994, Laura gave birth to their first child, a boy named Reese, and he was premature. Sadly, the baby had fluid around his heart and lungs, a condition which caused heart failure. He died only a few hours after birth.
That's got to be one of the saddest events for someone to go through. I mean, especially the mom. And I'm not discounting fathers or the other partners. But to carry that being inside of you, I mean, I could only imagine how that would feel. and it's got to be absolutely terrible.
Well, Dylan, the death of their child actually sent Richard into a tailspin.
And that can happen.
He seemed to take it a lot harder than Laura. He became deeply depressed. Richard obsessed over the child's death. He would sit alone in a dark room for hours, like rewatching Reese's sonogram video.
Oh my gosh, that's really sad.
It's really sad.
That's really sad.
He began making harassing phone calls to the hospital, blaming them for his child's death and threatening to forge ahead with a lawsuit. And it got so bad that the hospital had to tell him, you've got to quit calling here. We're going to have to take legal action.
Yeah, I'm sure when it first happens, it's not the first person to, call up there full of grief and blame other people for something. But if you just keep on and on and on, that means he was doing it to kind of an elevated degree than normal or what they've heard before.
This was like an ongoing thing.
So he was harassing.
Writing letters, he's calling, he's speaking to different people and not getting the answer he wants. So he's kind of just keeps calling and until they tell him you have to quit calling here, bud. The Rosenthals welcomed a baby daughter in April of 1995. The little girl's name was Marla Kate. Marla was born with a deformed hip, Dylan. It was determined by doctors that both Richard and Laura had Rh factors in their blood, which can make it difficult to conceive a child. Richard blamed Laura for this. Now, despite the fact they both have this Rh factor, he's immediately blaming his wife.
It doesn't matter if just she does, man. How the hell do you control your genetics, bro? Do you know how that shit works? It's all worked out before you're born, man. Come on. I mean, what kind of uncaring, callous person blames someone for something that's in their genetics, let alone when they share the similar gene? Come on, Richard. Do better, Dick Rose.
He grew to resent Laura even more. He believed his wife was the sole reason for their daughter's problems and the death of their son. While Laura was out of work, Richard controlled the couple's finances. After they purchased their home, he seemed to be stressed out, and people didn't know if he was stressed out about money or just maybe taking on the responsibility of being a homeowner. Because it's much different when you own a home versus renting a home.
It's night and day.
You are constantly thinking about, I need a new roof. What if the water heater goes out? We're going to have to get a new fridge. Who's going to cut the grass? It's a lot of added responsibility.
It is. There's no one to call now when something tears up or you need something done or maintained. It's all on you, the homeowner.
But Laura had to ask permission to spend money, even going as far as calling Richard at work to get approval. Over basic things, like if she needed to go buy a gallon of milk, she had to call her husband and get permission to spend the money.
I think I know the answer to this, but if you had a friend who described something like this to you, what would be your reaction to them?
Bitch, please.
Get away from him.
Hell no.
Get away from that person.
Yeah, that's too far.
That's too far, and honestly, I know it comes in you end up in this place down a long path, but you can't let anyone treat you like that.
Well, look, it is one thing if you are sharing finances with your partner and you're a one-income household. I think it is one thing if you ask permission or discuss, not even ask permission, but just have a discussion about big moneyed purchases.
Well, I think couples should,
Hey, I would like to go get a new TV. Can we afford to spend $500 on this TV? Or, hey, we need to upgrade our, garbage disposal or whatever. But when it's just the basics of living, like a gallon of milk or
a little bit of gas,
toilet paper, you need some eggs or flour, shampoo, these are not purchases you should have to run by your partner.
No, and you've never actually sat down and be like, hey, we have to do this and that. And all our money's pulled together. Even times we've had separate accounts, but it always felt like our money. If I don't have any, you have it. Or, one or the other has some money. And now we're officially joint and all, which is fine.
Now we
with me.
finally got a joint account after 6 years
all,
together.
all of our money's always been, we call it's in the same pot. But we always it's not, you don't ask permission, but like, hey, I spent $300 at the grocery store today. Thanks, inflation. Or, I did this, or I think I might need to do this. We've always been real good about letting each other know. But I honestly wouldn't want to bother with you asking me every single time.
To order some clothes or order a pair of shoes or something, and it's kind of coming out of, well, even if it's our money,
right?
I don't question if you want to go buy some clothes. I don't say you can't do that, or
no,
you have to ask permission. And you've never, you don't even care if I'm like, hey, or you're like, okay.
No, I don't care, and I wouldn't even want the fuss of you running every single thing by me, because I don't want. I mean, come on, dude.
Again, I think it just speaks to Richard's control issues.
Oh, certainly.
I think he has major control issues.
Certainly, and you gotta nip that shit in the bud.
Well, just before Marla was born in April of 1995, Richard told a coworker, quote, "Everything is so difficult and hard right now." The coworker interpreted this statement as the Rosenthals were having marital problems, that Richard seemed to be having some kind of issue with his wife. But the most chilling detail was how Richard seemed apathetic toward their daughter Marla. He ignored the baby.
Well, I'm kind of surprised, honestly, unless he's a super chauvinist or something. No matter the female, be it his daughter or not, he's going to treat her. He was totally destroyed by the loss of their son, and now I would imagine, in most cases, and especially after being told well, I guess they found that out after she was born, that they have the recessive genes or whatever that's making it hard. But anyway, I think you would be like doting after this child that's alive.
Well, it seems to me after you've been through that kind of heartbreak, hardship, that you would embrace the birth of this child.
Right. No matter what, because you would be so excited that even if she had difficulties and stuff, you would want that to do what you could for that. But you would be so happy to have your child here with you, one of your children. So I'm kind of taken aback, even though he's a dick, that he's ignoring the baby. That's pretty wild.
Well, once Laura learned that her husband had strapped Marla to a changing table in the bathroom while he went into the kitchen to grind coffee, and left his daughter strapped to this changing table unattended.
Okay, that's really weird.
Well, she was very upset about it.
I would be too.
Richard seemed to want nothing to do with his daughter. Instead of bragging like a proud papa would, at work he mostly complained about how much sleep he was losing due to the baby.
It's called having a kid, dude. New parents don't sleep. You just don't sleep.
You're not going to sleep for probably 2 years.
You're not going to sleep hardly. Yeah. And then if you're lucky, it'll settle down by then.
And then when they turn about 13 until they're 20, you're probably not going to sleep either.
And sometimes you'll have one parent takes the brunt of that, and the other parent. I've seen male and female versions of this. The one parent does most all the things for the kid, gets up always, and that's the one that's tired. But I don't think that's right. I think it's on both of you to bear the brunt of that, because that's really hard, especially your first child. It's really tough. Because you think well,
I've been in that situation.
Yeah, you think
I've been with a partner who thought it was not their responsibility.
That's wrong.
To get up in the middle of the night and would say, well, I have work in the morning. And I have work in the morning as well.
Yeah.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
So you got a new baby, and you got to go to work?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
And basically being told, go take care of that.
They matter more than you. I mean, there's no other way to take that.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
And it's a shitty feeling.
That's very wrong. It's both of you made that child, and it takes both of you to raise that child. And that's the way it should be. I don't care. A lot of times you'll see, especially a breastfeeding. Now, I get it if a mom's breastfeeding, although sometimes it's just easier for her to do middle of the night because the baby wants mom and the boob and all that. But it's a shared responsibility. And I think that's the only way to approach it.
Agreed. Now, Laura planned to return to work in June of 1995. So, Dylan, the baby was born in April. This is June. So, the baby's only a few months old when she's going to go back to work. However, Laura was experiencing anxiety about enrolling Marla in daycare. And I think a lot of new parents feel this way. They're reluctant to leave their newborns with strangers. You're placing your baby in someone else's care. Your baby's going to be exposed to other children, other babies.
Yeah.
You got to think about the germs.
You got to think about baby gangs.
There's
Baby gang violence is a very big issue that people do not want to talk about in this country.
Yeah, there's that one baby gang, the rolling pacifiers.
Yeah.
They are mean.
They are mean.
They will cut you.
They will leave you laying in the street bleeding over a binky.
Well,
okay?
we know. I mean, even recently, we're kind of talking to your daughter about your granddaughters, and she was nervous about putting her kids in daycare.
Yeah, here you have a single mom, and unfortunately, we're not near her right now to where we can help. And she's doing everything by herself, which I'm super, super proud of. Because I told her, I said,
And she's killing it.
I was
crushing it.
I was a young parent, but it was me and your mom together trying to do the young parent thing, and it was so freaking hard. So the fact that you're doing that full on single mom working, 2 kids, 2 little ones, a toddler and a baby, wow. I'm so proud of her. I don't know how you do it, but she was very, very worried about putting either of them in daycare. And all the reasons you described there is what gave her concern.
Yeah, it's genuine fear for a lot of parents.
I think it's almost instinctual, almost evolutionary to leave your young one with someone in the care of someone else because you feel like it's your job to protect that little being.
And Laura, here she is. She's worrying about this. She's got a lot of anxiety. She's stressing about it. And her husband just offers no compassion. He's indifferent about the whole thing. Which, this is your baby. This is your wife. Like, it would be nice if he had been a little bit more considerate.
Well, yeah, feelings, but right? I mean, we're seeing a pattern here with Richard.
We are seeing a pattern, Dylan.
Very much
That's
so.
That's why I'm bringing it up, so we can see a pattern.
Wait a second. Is this that story you wrote? Is this how it goes?
Now, after Marla's birth, Richard grew interested in religion to the point that he was almost fanatical. He began embracing Judaism, attending daily prayer meetings at the temple. The congregation recalled Laura being friendly, and she would go to temple with him, but Richard was cold. The cantor said that Richard didn't talk much, but when he did, it was usually nothing but complaints.
Oh, God, he sounds like a lot of fun at parties.
He does.
Wow, Richard, what's going on?
I'm not Jewish, so I was curious what a cantor is, Dylan. They're a trained vocalist and a member of the clergy who leads the congregation in song and prayer. They often teach music to children and adults, and they officiate major life cycle events like marriages, funerals, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So they're a pretty hands-on clergy member.
Very, very involved in the members' lives.
Right.
And
so it sounds like this is a
okay.
person who would really have a lot of kind of interactions with Richard. On August 28th of 1995, Richard was driving his 1984 Toyota Camry with 4.5-month-old Marla in tow when he spotted a couple driving in another car. The couple's license plate read 357 BAN. Richard was known to fervently discuss gun rights with strangers. Once in a while, he would go to Champion Sports Bar with coworkers and liked engaging in debates about the topic of gun rights.
I don't want a stranger to fervently engage in any conversation with me about any subject.
So he has a history of kind of cornering people and wanting to debate guns and gun rights and gun issues.
Wow.
So when he sees this license plate, 357 BAN is what he's thinking it says. He's like, what? And starts following
No way.
Paul and Lynn Johnson to their home in Hudson, Massachusetts.
So all of a sudden here you have Paul and Lynn just out and about. Maybe they hit the Home Depots to run some errands or go to the grocery store. And next thing they know, they got some maniac on their tail following them.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And pulls in the driveway behind them. I mean, this would freak most people out.
No, dude, I'm a full. Hey, you about to find out that I am indeed for the Second Amendment if you come follow me in my driveway.
I know Paul was a teacher. I believe his wife was as well. So, these are just like two normal people, whatever. They step out of their car, and that's when Richard confronts the couple.
Oh, my gosh.
About their tag, asking if they want to ban the popular 357 model gun. And the couple is very confused. They explained that the DMV had simply issued this tag and it had no meaning whatsoever.
So it's a random state, number or computer generated tag number, just a generic number.
357 BAN,
They
not
just-
357 BAN. It's not a personalized tag.
No, and honestly, for Richard to take it at that is a kind of a stretch in the first place. So it lets you know that he's not thinking clearly. And so could you imagine this couple's reaction? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
That's pretty much how they felt. I mean, of course, the husband's kind of trying to calm him down and
Yeah.
get him to leave, and the wife's just not sure what's going on. But during this encounter, Richard asks Paul Johnson if he could have a spoon to eat a yogurt.
So after following them home and berating them, a stranger, he's asking for a spoon so he can enjoy his delicious yogurt that he has in the car, but he has no spoon.
Yes.
He wants to eat a car yogurt.
Yes.
Okay.
When Lynn Johnson spotted a baby in the backseat of the car, she calls police because she's like, here's this guy. He's strange. He's trying to argue with us. He followed us. He wants to eat yogurt in my driveway.
He's trying to get car yogurt
He's
going.
got a baby in the car. Like, I'm not sure what's happening. But she's like, we're going to get the police here. Richard's animated behavior just didn't sit right with her. And she also wanted to know where the child's mother was. And I believe she asked Richard and he wasn't, telling her.
He's like, no, we need to get back to the 357s. Everybody needs a 357.
You looking at me, punk?
Dude.
Now, a police officer named Officer Pinto arrived shortly after. He inquired about the baby in the back seat and asked where was the child's mother.
So the cop's trying to get straight to business.
Yes. Richard Rosenthal told the officer his wife was at home. The couple, he explained, had gotten into an argument because Richard had overbaked the ziti.
So, okay, so he's telling the cop that he got in an argument with the baby's mom, his baby mama.
With his wife.
With his wife.
Because he had
of
overbaked the ziti.
Okay, I bet this cop is like, what the hell's this guy's deal? Because these are not clear answers. These are he's just reacting strangely, honestly.
Officer Pinto was concerned when Richard admitted he had, quote, done something wrong. Inside the car, the officer could see a bag that contained blood-stained clothing.
Oh, my God.
There was also a yarmulke and a prayer book with a highlighted passage displayed in the car. And that's when Richard told the cop he wanted a lawyer.
Oh, my gosh.
Richard Rosenthal was placed under arrest. In the meantime, police were dispatched to the Rosenthal's home on Garvey Road. The Department of Social Services was called to pick up Marla. When officers arrived at the home in Framingham, it was just after midnight. And Dylan, they made a heinous discovery. In the couple's backyard, law enforcement found an 18-inch wooden stake. 2 human lungs and a heart were impaled on the stick.
Oh, my gosh. What in the world? I bet they are blown away by this discovery.
Yes. Nearby, a softball-sized rock was covered in blood. A trail directed police down a small embankment, and about 30 yards away were Laura's remains sprawled out.
Completely eviscerated, it sounds like.
Yes, her lower half was covered in wood chips, which were used around the couple's manicured lawn. So I'm assuming that's like probably mulch,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or like cedar chips or something.
Right.
Inside the house, they found a butcher knife along with more bloody clothing. An investigation into the murder led police to learn that on the morning of the murder, Richard had behaved bizarrely during a meeting. He kept getting up and leaving the meeting and then returning. Richard placed over 9 phone calls to Laura that day. During this meeting, Richard was griping about the room being too cold when no one else noticed any temperature changes. So, acting kind of weird before the murder.
Right.
He asked a coworker named Deborah Cordero just hours before the murder if she would water his plants because Richard would be gone for a few days. Deborah asked if Richard was going on vacation, to which he replied, quote, "I don't know if I would call it that."
Hey, I think I'm going to jail. Do you think you can water my plants for like years to come?
Well, during the investigation, Richard admits that he and his wife had gotten into an argument because she had asked him to watch the ziti that was being baked for dinner.
Okay.
He burned it. And that's when they got into a fight, and he hit her with the rock.
Okay, so do you just have the rock right there with you? You're just walking around with the
Well,
rock?
it sounds like it happened in the backyard.
Oh, okay. So like she come out and she's like, I asked you to
Yes.
watch the ziti, and here you are in the backyard, you dumb son of a bitch.
Something like that.
And then he lost it because he's an abuser anyway, and he went too far with his abuse and killed her. And then it sounds like he took it upon himself to desecrate her corpse after killing her
Yes.
in a very, very strange manner, let's be honest.
Well, due to this, a judge ordered that Richard be evaluated for 20 days at Bridgewater State Hospital in Massachusetts. Spouse killings rarely result in overkill, experts say, which is the brutalizing of a dead body. The dean of Northeastern University's College of Criminal Justice, James Fox, told a reporter that Rosenthal's case was more of a thrill kill than what he would consider like the normal domestic violence murder.
Oh, wow. So he doesn't see that at all. He just sees someone who has been wanting to kill someone, and they finally did it, basically.
It took pathologists a day to identify Laura's remains due to the mutilation she suffered. Using dental records, they were able to make a positive confirmation. Her face was unrecognizable, Dylan. She had a slit from her navel all the way up to her neck. And Laura's family traveled from Texas to also aid in identifying her body. They brought the dental records with them.
My gosh, he cut her up like she was butchered meat or something, man. I mean, how do you do that to your wife?
When news spread of Laura's murder, the community had a ghastly reaction. Joel Mogan, who worked for Patrick Russell's trucking company, said, quote, "This is the sickest thing I've ever heard." A neighbor named Lynn Callwalder told law enforcement that she had heard a high-pitched scream the night before the murder, but assumed it was the baby. Richard's brother told law enforcement about a phone call that he had had back in June of 1995. Andrew, Richard's brother, said Richard told him, quote, "The maker is coming," during one of their conversations.
Oh, I'll be like, okay.
And
what's he making, though?
The next time they spoke, Andrew joked, "Is the maker still coming?" And he said Richard didn't respond, but kind of giggled.
Damn, dude. Richard, I'm sorry. Richard's obviously having something happen. Something's going on. This sounds like schizophrenia or something to me.
Videos emerged through the investigation showing days before the murder. Richard was engaging pleasantly with his wife and daughter in these family moments that were captured on a VHS tape. So just days before the killing, it seems like everything's fine. He's playing with his baby. He's being nice to his wife. They seem just like a normal, happy family. On August 28th, the day of the murder, Richard had fired off a letter to the chief executive officer of the New England Medical Center stating he was not satisfied with the hospital's response to his son's death and was demanding a satisfactory response.
So he's continuing with that harassment of the hospital, basically.
Hours before the murder, on the same day, Richard attended services at his temple in Framingham, where those who had lost a loved one recited the Jewish prayer for the dead. It was said that Rosenthal did not rise to his feet, indicating that he was not in mourning. The information would be used to convince a jury that Rosenthal was in his right state of mind on August 28th of 1995 when he killed Laura Jane. He's in his right state of mind to go to this...
He made service.
Prayer service.
Right.
He knows he's not standing up, to mourn a loved one. He's asking his coworker, "Will you water my plants?" And fires off a letter to the hospital.
but I mean, I get where they're going. They're trying to prove he's competent, and so he should be held to full account as far as justice is concerned for his criminal actions. But I'm not so sure that Richard is stable. Are you? Because it seems like some rather strange behavior, strange, inexplicable behavior.
His attorneys would begin planning a defense based on Richard's mental health. Richard's attorneys would contend that he was, quote, a very, very crazy man, afflicted with delusions about aliens and vampires.
Now, was that 2 or 3 varies?
2 varies.
2 varies? Well, it's getting out there.
Soon after his arrest, Richard told his brother, quote, Laura Jane's coming back, to which his brother Mark responded, that's a pretty tough thing to do, because she's dead. Richard also said, quote, it wasn't Laura Jane in the backyard. That body only had 2 kidneys and Laura had 4.
Oh my gosh.
Richard told Mark there would be no trial because of this.
Because there was 4 kidneys?
Because it was not Laura.
Ah.
He also accused Mark of having plastic surgery and being a clone. So he's accusing his brother of being a clone and having plastic surgery.
Wait a second. Why would a clone need plastic surgery if they're just cloned to make look just like somebody?
I don't know.
Well, if the clone wasn't happy with, how would that make you? Now check this out. How would that make you feel if you had a clone made, or there was a clone of you, and then the clones start getting a bunch of work because they think they don't like your body? What the fuck?
I wouldn't blame the clone. I want plastic surgery, okay? All I need is about $25,000. So, folks, if you're out there and you want to donate to my fund, please do so. I just need about $25,000, and I could be so smoking hot.
Dude, we haven't
So
even...
you need to get to work so I can be hot.
Look, let me try something. This is a wing
I
and a
can
prayer.
get rid of my double chin.
She don't have a double chin, folks.
I can get rid of... I want a nose job.
She wants the mommy makeover, too.
I do, yeah.
So if we have any premier, highly skilled plastic surgeons out there listening,
I will
that will take
advertise
payments.
your-
I'll pay you the full price.
I'll advertise your business for you.
We'll advertise your business. You can make my wife look human again. Apparently, she thinks she's a horrible looking. I love every inch of her.
Whatever. You think I'm a big back bitch with a double chin.
Look, you're a strong bitch. Look, you got me saying bitch again, but you are a strong bitch. There ain't no denying it, Heather. Those shoulders, they don't have shoulder. You can't get a shoulder job.
I did out push up you today.
Yeah, I know. And you wasn't even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, I know. That shit was easy.
And she gonna get even lower and in an even more extreme position than me. So you know what?
I'm sorry you don't know how to plank.
You
gotta lower your back and straighten it out, bud. That you can't do push-ups with your ass in the air.
Well, look, I did them. You saw it.
What it was
I'm
wrong.
not saying it's the proper form.
Well, it's not.
Your big ass shoulders.
I think you just trying to show everybody your butt. You was all trying to be sexy, like, hey, look at this at the park.
Nobody was doing no stiff legs at the park.
You were.
You're a damn lie.
You was.
Nobody did no stiff legs.
Guys, he was totally doing it.
I didn't
Don't
drop
wanna fool you.
Rufus's leash and bend around and pick it up and then turn around and see if anybody's looking.
You've been doing that because you've been doing squats and you're always like trying to check out your tiny butt in the mirror. And
Well, you
like,
said
look
I
at
have-
this, look at this.
I went from no butt to a tiny butt, and I'll
it's
take
still
that.
tiny.
I know, but I'll take that.
But then you were proud of it. So I think you were purposefully sticking your ass up in the air when you were doing push-ups
Not
because you was
true.
trying to show your tiny butt off.
I can plank though. I'm gonna show you when we get done recording right now. I can do a proper
Well, you know
form.
you can't put your butt up in the air,
Yeah,
right?
I know. So I mean, come on.
Are you done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Whatever, you little butt slut.
Butt slut.
You little butt slut.
I'm gonna take that back. I ain't meant to call you a big shoulder bitch.
Whatever,
Okay.
you little slut with your
Well,
Oh, tiny butt.
You
Okay.
got big shoulders, but I ain't mean to say bitch.
Yeah, because you're afraid I'm going to knock you down with my shoulders. Now,
Just don't grab me with it. God damn. Oh, okay.
he also, like I said, he accuses his brother of having plastic surgery, being a clone, and he insisted that an intern at the hospital had been responsible for his son's death. A smaller baby, he claimed, was buried, not his son.
Okay. So, he could be trying to act, insane
Yes.
or mental but I got to say he didn't try very hard to cover his deeds. You see what I'm saying?
Well, hold on.
Because going around harassing strangers.
We're not finished with the story.
Okay. gosh, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Richard, man, and that poor woman.
Well, a source who was familiar with the Rosenthals told a newspaper, quote, "This murder is more than he went nuts one day. This has been building up over time." Before trial, Richard was sent to Bridgewater State Hospital 2 more times for evaluations. And despite Richard's attorney's claims that he was insane at the time of the murders, a jury decided that he was competent to stand trial. By October of 1996, the case was finally ready to be heard.
I think only a professionals should be able to decide that. I don't think that.
Well, he's had 3 evaluations by professionals.
Oh, and they're being presented with their findings, and then that's how the jury makes their determination?
Yes, Dylan.
Okay.
I think that's how it works. Yes.
Okay.
I think when you're ordered to undergo psych evaluations by a court, that information is presented to the court that ordered. Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. Introduced into evidence was a letter Richard had written to his college roommate. This was in December of 95, so a few months after the murder, in which he said he was in a, quote, supernatural state when he beat his wife to death with a rock, then eviscerated her, all because he had overbaked the ziti. In the letter, Richard said Laura Jane had become enraged on the night of August 27th, and that he felt she had changed.
Oh, gosh.
Meaning that she had changed into like an alien or a vampire and was planning to kill Richard.
I gotta say, this has been one of the most important zitis ever baked. There's been lots happened because of this ziti.
In the letter, which Richard called his manifesto, he said he was in a deep state of anguish over the death of his son. Joanne Brenner, a close friend of Richard's, testified that she had seen Laura Jane with a black eye and a bruised cheek in the summer of 1990 while they were both working at John Hancock. Richard had said Laura walked into a door, if you remember, but Joanne didn't accept this answer, and she kept pressing Richard until he finally admitted he may have pushed Laura down during an argument. Some witnesses also testified that Richard was a man afflicted with delusional disorder who mistook his wife for a space alien and killed her believing his life was in danger, that his wife was an alien who was going to kill him.
And that's where the 4 kidneys comes into play, because in his mind, he's trying to make it out like she's not even human.
Yes. However, the district attorney told jurors, quote, "The time has come to put an end to Richard Rosenthal's excuses. The time has come to put the blame for Laura Jane's murder on his shoulders." But Rosenthal's attorney closed arguments by asking the jury, quote, "What does a man do who has an argument with his wife? Does he cut her heart and lungs out? It's absolutely insane. Does a murderer leave the heart and lungs sticking out of the ground?"
No. I'm going to say usually not. But, I mean, who's to say what's proper murdering? I mean, that's kind of a fine line. I see what he's trying to do.
That's attorney talk.
Yeah, but I see what he's trying to do. But I don't know if you're getting home with it. I don't know if you're selling it to the jury.
Yes, I mean, Ed Kemper had sex with his mom's neck hole. So, I mean, what is normal when it comes to murder, Dylan?
Well, and you know what? Just because, let's say I agree with you, that doesn't mean that means that the public needs to be protected from this person who even an unstable person. Let's be honest.
Richard's attorney also pointed out to the jury that Laura Jane had never told a therapist she was in an abusive relationship. Although I don't know if Laura Jane was in therapy at all. So it seems kind of like a moot point.
Well, look, just what I have and haven't told my therapist is not that's not the gospel, bud. I mean, there's plenty of stuff people don't tell their therapists, okay?
Well, just last week in the Bobby Kent episode,
yeah.
Allie Willis's parents never told her therapist that she had been sexually assaulted.
That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
So, I mean, people omit things from their doctors and therapists. Things they're embarrassed about, they don't talk about it, whatever. So that's kind of like I said, a moot point. The lawyer also pointed to the fact that doctors who regularly saw Laura Jane did not notice signs of domestic violence. So because she never went to the doctor with a black eye, it couldn't be true.
Well, yeah. I mean, I see his point. Not really.
The attorney said Richard had displayed a surging interest in religiosity.
Ah, yes. The religiosity.
Yes.
I can't even say it.
Religiosity, his daily attendance at temple, and the obsession with Reese's death. So trying to paint a picture of a mentally ill man. As we know, some people become manic, and religious mania could be a sign of mental illness.
Well, they're hyper-focusing on these things. They're intertwining it throughout their entire life. Or going from 0 to 60, like you weren't religious at all, hardly. I mean, not say you didn't believe in God or whatever, but then going to...
But people who tend to have these displays, whatever mental illness they're suffering
People
from.
afflicted with religiosity.
Religious mania don't typically murder their wives and stake their heart and lungs in the backyard.
No, that's true.
Right? I mean...
No, typically they're a recovered drug addict who wants to tell everybody else what to do now.
he could have mental illness, but most people who have mental illness are not violent or dangerous.
Oh, and that's a great point.
Right?
I'm glad you said that.
There are a lot of us out there who have mental illness and take medication and, whatever, and we don't go on killing sprees and we don't murder our spouse and eviscerate their body.
It's true. And granted, there are varying degrees of mental illness, but that's a good point.
A note had also been discovered in Rosenthal's pocket at the time of arrest, which outlined a conspiracy of doctors and lawyers. He wrote that the Jews were sent from outer space to mate with earthlings and bring harmony. He claimed to awaken after dreaming about aliens. And so this was all jotted down on a note that was in his pocket when he was arrested.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe the Jews are from another world. Who knows?
They're here to breed with the earthlings.
To make us all chill out.
The district attorney told jurors that Rosenthal was in his right state of mind because he took a shower and removed bloody clothing after the murder. He also remembered to take his thyroid medication and eat a snack.
Oh.
Because remember, he's got his yogurt. He needs a spoon for his yogurt.
I gotta watch down my blood pressure medicine.
In the end, Richard Rosenthal was found guilty of murder in November of 1996 after 18 hours of deliberations. He was immediately sentenced to life in prison under state law without parole. The prosecutors, despite the defense's claims that Rosenthal was insane, said he was perfectly sane and faking mental illness to justify his crimes. When Richard is sentenced, he shows no reaction. His attorney said, quote, "How can he react? He's mentally ill. He doesn't get it."
Your attorney's still trying to win it. Be like, stop selling, bud. You lost. But I gotta say, if the statements from people around Richard before the murder, he was doing in these strange things. He was acting oddly, making strange, comments to various people. So that would have to be an awful long play for him if he's setting that up, knowing that he's going to kill his wife and kind of stage it to make it way over the top.
You think it's a long play? I mean, I think if you're planning a murder and for a couple of months you start planting these seeds, to me that does not seem out of the question. I mean,
you think that's plausible?
I think that's plausible.
Well,
people who are calculating and vindictive, manipulative,
and
psychopath, sociopath.
Right, he's an abuser,
and he's so meticulous and domineer. I mean, I think he could totally try to manufacture this mental illness that he's, claiming he has, knowing I'm going to kill my wife. I got to start planting the seeds of this.
Wow. I mean, I guess he could be that calculating. And I would say, as we've said many times before, just get away from her if you're over being with her. But someone like Richard, a control freak, and the meanness inside of him, obviously inside of him, he couldn't just go walk away. He wanted to bring some type of end to her, and maybe he did truly think he could sell the mental illness and just do some time in a mental hospital or something, get out earlier than normal. And then he would have taken care of her and controlled her to the very end, and then thinks he can move on with his life.
I think Richard was the kind of guy. I'm not diagnosing him. I don't know.
It's pure speculation.
But he seems like a narcissist. And he thinks he's very smart and intelligent and that he's the smartest guy out there. And he truly believed if he faked this mental illness, that he would get out of being punished for killing his wife. I think that. Now, I also believe he did have some issues. But I don't believe whatever was going on with him, if he was depressed or, had these feelings about his son's death, or was showing sort of this like obsessive compulsive kind of thing, that those were excuses for what he did.
You don't think he had
because like I said, a lot of people have mental illness and they don't hurt other people.
Right. And for me, honestly, the not guilty by reason of insanity has to be, for the most part, and I'm no expert and I don't want to step on people's toes with this in any form, but a complete and total break from reality.
Now, what gets me about
That's
lot
what it needs to
of
be.
These cases where you have someone trying to plead insanity, I would be curious to know, since Richard has been incarcerated, has he continued exhibiting strange behavior?
There you go.
Has he continued to be evaluated by mental health professionals?
Right.
Has he been treated for delusions?
Or the
Or did they
cellmates.
suddenly just stop when he
Right.
went to prison? Because that's happened a lot with these people. They claim, they're insane. They had a break from reality. They're psychotic at the time of the murder. And then, strangely, it just never happens again.
After sentencing, you never hear any other odd behavior or strange comments from them.
Right. They're
Yeah.
not like licking the cell walls
Right.
while they're in jail.
Exactly.
Vanita Shaw, Laura's mother, was pleased with the outcome. She said, quote, "So many beautiful plans were lost and lives changed forever because of one man's rage." She added that Marla Kate will only be able to know her mother through memories and the hearts of others. Laura's sister, Sherry Patrick, said, quote, "Knowing Marla Kate will never know the one person who loved her more than anything in this world was even worse than the killing itself." Irving Rosenthal, Richard's father, said, quote, "My son is mentally ill, and I think the jury missed the boat on this. We're very heartbroken." Gosh. So my resources for today's case were newspapers. The Boston Globe was one of the big papers that I used for today's case. I also used some court records, but it was all from newspapers.
Such a sad story.
It is.
I mean,
all over baked ziti, I guess.
The baked ziti can't be that damn important. Not that I don't appreciate a great ziti. I don't want the ziti to get a bad rap from this story. I want everyone to know that ziti had nothing to do with this.
Well, Dylan, this case, I'm actually surprised there hasn't been like a book written about it, because it's such a strange story, right?
It is a gruesome murder.
Baked ziti, the gruesome murder. It's such a strange situation. However, it did inspire a movie that has a bit of a cult following.
It's called The Burnt Ziti.
No, it's Session 9.
No
the
way.
horror movie.
How's that?
Well, if you're not familiar with Session 9, it's a 2001 psychological horror film in which like an asbestos abatement crew go to clean up at an abandoned mental hospital. And they have this really like intense work schedule. They have to get the project done within a short period of time. And the guy who owns the business and runs the crew has kind of overpromised that they will be able to reach this deadline, even though he kind of knows it's impossible.
Right.
But he's in some kind of financial straits. So he's like forcing these guys to go work these long shifts at this mental hospital. And while they're there, tensions are growing. And then there's like a lot of weird kind of mysterious events that happen around them. And there's also like these audio tape sessions with a patient that kind of run parallel to the crew's experiences, which actually make it pretty spooky. But the character in the movie, Gordon, he's like the main character. He's the guy who owns the company, the asbestos company, and he's under all this pressure. He keeps like coming to work looking tired and like unwell and seems to be kind of unraveling a bit. And keeps telling his coworkers that he had a fight with his wife. But like at the end of would spoil it.
Or you should say spoiler alert.
But spoiler alert, if you've never seen
It's a
Session
good
9,
movie, dude. It's a creepy movie.
It's really creepy.
I think it's a good
so,
movie.
spoiler alert, if you want to watch it, then don't listen to the rest of the podcast.
Yeah,
But
Jesus.
like in the end, you find out that Gordon actually murdered his wife over like a spaghetti. Over cooking spaghetti noodle.
So this
or something.
this truly was inspiration from this case.
Yes.
Wow.
And they actually filmed the movie at Danvers State Hospital, which is an abandoned asylum in Massachusetts. But it's a pretty creepy movie, and like I said, it has a bit of a cult following. It didn't have a whole lot of commercial success when it came out initially, but it's kind of gained traction over the years, and I like it. I would list it as probably, one of my top 20 horror movies.
Psychological thriller.
Super creepy. And it has David Caruso.
Yeah.
A lot of people like David Caruso. And Josh Lucas. He kind of, had a moment in the early 2000s.
He's very
as an
young
actor.
in this
And
movie.
Brendan Sexton III. I always like him. He kind of does weird, quirky little characters in indie films and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good movie. So, yeah, it's actually loosely based on the Rosenthal case.
Wow. I did not know that. And that's a pretty good movie. If you want to have a good creepy thriller, check out Session 9.
Yeah, the director, Brad Anderson, he actually grew up in Boston, and he was inspired by the Richard Rosenthal case. And he was very inspired by the location of Danvers State Asylum. So he was able to, film there.
Which is a great backdrop for the movie.
It totally sets the tone.
Abandoned asylum itself really gives it a kind of, gives it some validity, if you will. It's just great.
So I was listening to a podcast not that long ago about this film. And so if you want to watch Session 9 or you've seen it and you hadn't thought about it in a long time, all of the props in the movie were actually things that were abandoned at this hospital.
I had a feeling
so they didn't have to go find props like lobotomy picks, and there are all these weird x-rays and stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's all real stuff.
It was all there.
Which really gives it kind of a
really authentic feel.
Yes, for sure.
So definitely check that out. And again, we will be dropping the link to our merch store. If you'd like to go check that out, it'll be in today's show notes, or you can find us on social media, X or Instagram, and go to our link tree, which are posted there in our social media bios, and you'll be able to get to the store as well.
Is that how that link works?
Yeah.
Yeah, go check it out if you have a second. Heather has some great designs over there, and again, she kept the price points down, fair and reasonable, because she is not trying to rob anyone. She just wants to
make everything affordable for folks.
She wants to share some of her.
Dylan, there have been a few times that I have thought about buying merch from my favorite podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool, they have shirts. And I go check out their items, and I'm like, you want me to pay $35 or $40 for a t-shirt?
A t-shirt.
I'm not doing that.
$55, $60 for a hoodie?
Not going to do it.
Come on, dude. $24 for a cup?
I'm trying to be reasonable with the prices.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely, it's not we're just really trying to keep it affordable for people.
Yeah,
so
and I think that comes from us being true crime fans, and we've been through that, and everyone doesn't. Even if you have money or don't have a lot of money, it doesn't. I mean, it's really just about being reasonable and fair.
If I was a billionaire, I'm not going to spend $60 on a hoodie.
I still get price shock. I'm not spending $60 on a hoodie, y'all.
I can go to Walmart and get that hoodie for $6.
Dude, man, you'll be in
I get a Hanes Her Way sweatshirt for $6.99.
It's so crazy. You'll be in a Adidas store or Nike store, be like, okay, I like the look of this. It feels nice. And it's like $59, $65 for a damn pullover. Don't even have a zipper on it.
It's a lot.
It's too much.
I'm cheap.
Damn it. And we know for a fact Nike and probably the rest of them had it made by slave labor in some third world country for like 20 cents.
Yes.
Like, calm down, bro. Shit.
Well, most of our products are made in America, Dylan, just so you know. You should be happy about that.
I am happy about that. That's awesome.
Okay.
Nothing against third world slave labor. I mean,
Okay.
I just don't want to support it because I think it's taking advantage of people.
Yeah, it's terrible. Okay, Dylan. There is something against it, but we won't get into that.
I have everything against it. I don't think it's right.
Somebody's gonna take that.
Yeah, somebody's going to take that snippet.
You're gonna end up all over the news.
Go on, do
They're
that.
gonna-
Go on, do that. Hit me up at Mountain Merge Podcast and tell me what gmail.com and tell me what a dumbass I am. Because you wouldn't be the first. You won't be the last. All
Okay,
right.
it's time. It's
All
time
right.
to say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.